Ms. Gray, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So I would like to move the following motion, that given that the Liberal Minister for Housing recently stated, quote, I think it's a generational moral failure that there are people sleeping without a roof over their head in a country as wealthy as Canada. I won't be able to say with a straight face that I have properly addressed the housing crisis if we still have to walk past people who are sleeping on the streets in Canada, unquote. The committee concur in the Minister's remarks and report them to the House. And this should be very easy to deal with here, Mr. Chair. It's not asking for a study of the committee, and it is a work that can be done in the House of Commons. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gray. I've been advised the motion is in order. Debate on the motion of Ms. Gray. Mr. Fragas-Catos.
Thank you, Chair. I have no problem with the with concurring in the minister's remarks. What I do have a challenge with is the what follows after the last comma. The committee concur in the minister's remarks and report them to the House. All of us know, as experienced parliamentarians, that that is intended to generate a concurrence debate in the House of Commons, taking away valuable time from the legislative agenda and standing in the way of valuable measures being passed to the benefit of Canadians. So with that, I wish to introduce the following amendment, that the words after the final comma and the last sentence, those words being the committee concur in the minister's remarks and report them to the House, be stricken. Everything else remain the same. So the comma would be changed to a period put after the word Canada.
We have an amendment, so now the debate will be on the amendment of Mr. Fragas-Catos. I have Madame Ferrari and Mr. Aitchison on the amendment of Mr. Fragas-Catos.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you so much. I think folks watching at home must just be a little bit stunned at what they've heard from the Liberal member saying that this will waste valuable time in the legislature to talk about the housing crisis. This is exactly what we were elected to do, to my member opposite. So absolutely a concurrence debate is not wasting anyone's time, through you, Mr. Chair. And to reiterate this motion that my colleague, Ms. Gray, has put forward, these are the minister's words. These are the minister's words of the failure of this government. This is the minister's words saying that people are not housed. And again, I think it's a generational moral failure that there are people sleeping without a roof over their head in a country as wealthy as Canada. I won't be able to say with a straight face that I have properly addressed the housing crisis if we still have to walk past people who are sleeping on the streets in Canada. And the Liberal member now has put forward an amendment to take out the next part of this motion that says the committee concur in the minister's remarks and report them to the House, because he doesn't want a debate in the House to talk about this Liberal failure. This is the biggest crisis facing our country right now, and he thinks it's a waste of time to debate this in the House, Mr. Chair, through you. So absolutely, what a nonsensical amendment, and I would challenge him and ask him again, if he is, and the parliamentary secretary to housing, no doubt, should know that absolutely we should be spending our time to talk about this and to come up with solutions. If it is our job and they are so collaborative, then bring it to the House, let's debate it, and let's solve this problem. So that would be my remarks to the member opposite. Thank you.
Thank you. The debate is on the amendment of Mr. Fragas-Catos. I have Mr. Aitchison, Madame Chabot, and Mr. Long. Mr. Aitchison, you have the floor.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'm actually, I guess I'm not surprised by this amendment because, you know, it's become obvious. I was in the House earlier today, and they were talking about how, you know, they need to extend sittings because conservatives get in the way by opposing this government. And you know, this isn't opposing anything. This is actually a discussion. We'd like to have a discussion in the House about, you know, what I think are fairly profound statements by the minister. I mean, we've tried to have him come here. That's no good. We don't like that because, well, I still don't know why. My colleague has been instructed not to let the minister come here. We don't want to talk about this in the House. There's, you know, my colleague Ms. Ferrari pointed out, and I think quite accurately, this is the challenge of our time. This is the crisis of a generation. We're talking about, you know, the number of homeless in this country at record highs. The crisis exists at at all points on the spectrum of the housing continuum, and I appreciate that the parliamentary secretary to the ministers obviously eager to make sure we don't talk too much in the House about their record on the file, but perhaps a discussion about what the minister said in the House would reveal some new ideas for this government to propose in terms of working with municipalities and the provinces to address specifically the homelessness situation and the growing number of Canadians who are unhoused and the growing number of people who literally are dying in the streets. The number of homeless people in Toronto who don't survive the streets is growing. And so I just find it fundamentally flooring that the Liberals don't want to have a discussion about ideas, about proposed solutions, things that, as a House of Commons, as an elected body, where the issues of the day of this country are supposed to be discussed and debated. That is the purpose of the place, or so I thought. Why they wouldn't want to have those discussions? It smacks of deflection and cover up, and frankly, I'd be embarrassed if I was in his shoes. So.
Exactly.
Thank you, Mr. Aitchison. Madame Chabot, sur l'amendement.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In terms of the amendment, I agree with the amendment, and I'm going to explain why. Everyone here is in agreement with the fact that there is a serious housing crisis in Canada, that homelessness has reached record highs, not just in Quebec, everywhere. It's something we've never seen before, and that something has to be done. And the minister, and I don't want to be partisan here, the best way to find solutions is to try to have motions for studies that would allow us to go into depth into the problematic. And I don't think this is going to allow us to go into the details of the problem. I think that we are taking into account what the minister has said. And when the minister came, and we hope that he will be able to come back, there are motions that we can study. And I think that successive governments and the funds that have been invested in housing have brought us to the situation that we're faced with today. There are a lot of motions already in terms of housing and homelessness, and I think it might be better to conduct a study regarding the issues that we are faced with today in order to try to find solutions and to improve the situation rather than the motion that is before us.
And then Ms. Roberts and Ms. Gray.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, colleagues. And Chair, first and foremost, I want to correct what MP Ferrari said about the minister admitting the failure of this government. He did no such thing. He commented generally on the challenges that we face as a country that I think we all agree have been unfolding over many, many years and many, many governments. For some reason, the members opposite do not want to talk about the provinces and their responsibility with respect to housing. And I mean, there's question period. I don't believe there's been a question asked of the Minister of Housing for a while now. There's all kinds of other opportunities. The minister's been here personally several times and answered questions. I guess where I come from is I also want to hear solutions from the other side too, not just build the houses, axe a tax, and cut crime. Like, what are the actual solutions put on the table to build more homes, as opposed, what I hear right now is, blame local mayors, And again, for some reason, and maybe it's because there are conservative premiers across the country mainly, but there's not a word about the responsibility that the provinces play in this role. So thanks for that. I just want to reiterate that the minister in no way said, admitted failure of this government. I think we know the minister. We know he's trying to deal with a very, very serious problem. He's called it an emergency himself, and it's going to take some time. And I believe that we are on the right path, and I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts, then Ms. Gray, and Mr. Aitchison. Then I see Ms. Ferrari with your hand up on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I hear that, you know, it's one of the things that you said that we have no plan. We do have a plan. First of all, we have to build homes. We cut the red tape. We encourage builders to build homes, affordable homes, so that people have a place to live. The challenges that we're facing today, it's not just one area, it's right across the entire country. I spent the week speaking to my seniors who have to sell their home and move in with their children because not only can they not afford their home any longer, they can't even afford rent. And there's no rental opportunities for them to house themselves. This is an embarrassing situation. This is not the Canada that our parents and grandparents came to. They came to a Canada land of promise. And right now, that promise is gone. There's no hope. We need to recreate that hope. So why are we not acting more quicker to allow the development of homes so people don't have to live on the streets? I think that this is an important issue. I think it's an issue that we all have to face, and that I think we should come together and come up with some solutions. We have a solution. Let's cut the red tape. Let's build the homes. Let's give people an opportunity to live properly and not on the streets.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts. Ms. Gray on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, to speak to this amendment, which the Liberals have put forth to remove discussing in the House of Commons for a discussion and a debate on housing in the House of Commons, specifically on the housing minister's comments on that there's a moral failure having people live on the streets, and for the Liberals to bring forth this motion to not debate this in the House of Commons just shows that it's not a priority for them. And so it's really too bad that they brought this motion forward, and I hope that the other opposition parties can vote against this amendment to the motion and then vote for our original motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gray. Mr. Aitchison on the amendment.
Yeah, I want to point out that although my Liberal colleagues maybe don't like the slogans, Conservatives have proposed some solutions. We've proposed all kinds of ideas. In fact, it'd be a great opportunity for us to have a conversation in the House about the Housing Accelerator Fund, for example, which we've been promised will deliver more homes by doing deals with cities, who I guess the current government has finally acknowledged is part of the problem in this circumstance. But the fact of the matter is, we've asked for the agreements. We don't know what's in those agreements. All we know is what we can highlight from the news media. And of course, when you dig a little deeper, you find out that the cities that they've done these deals with are promising to do certain things, but none of them actually put in place. As an example, permitting fourplexes as of right in any residential zone. That requires a zoning amendment change. Not one of those municipalities has actually done that. So I'm actually calling this the Pay for Promises program, which is kind of the way this government operates. But we could talk about that in the House of Commons if we had the opportunity to take the minister's comments, report that in the House, and actually ask him directly about the Pay for Promises program as opposed to the Rewarding Results program that a Conservative government would offer. But I guess this is the point. I guess is that instead of having those debates in the House of Commons where we're supposed to have them, this government would rather hide behind their procedures and not talk about this kind of stuff in the House of Commons. So I find that disappointing that they have such disrespect for the chamber. But it'd be a great opportunity to propose some more ideas instead of just more photo ops.
Thank you, Mr. Aitchison. I have Ms. Ferrari on the amendment.
Thank you. To this amendment that the Liberals have put forward, that they don't want to speak in the House of Commons and debate and waste, in their words, valuable time to talk about the housing crisis. And to my colleague's point that the minister hasn't admitted failure, this is just facts. Like, the rent has doubled, housing prices have doubled in the last 8 years under this Liberal government. That's just facts. My point that I just want to make is I'd like to go to a vote and see where this is, because I think this amendment is bonkers. But to the NDP, I think it is going to be very up to them as we look at their sort of coalition, where they stand on this. Because quite frankly, for somebody who's been so vocal on preventing homelessness and standing up for people who are our most vulnerable, I sure hope they don't support this amendment that says don't vote for this or don't talk about this in the House of Commons to find solutions.
Thank you, Ms. Ferrari. Seeing no further Discussion, Madam Zarrillo on the amendment. Madam Zarrillo.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And, I wasn't going to speak on this because, this is a political fight between the Liberals and Conservatives who have both done terrible things over the last 4 decades to cut supportive housing for people. And I wasn't going to speak on it, but I'm really, really at the end of it, of the Conservatives trying to do their little fishing trips where they try to throw out comments about the NDP and myself and then just clip them and send them around. This is a serious issue, and I'm making serious choices as well as my NDP colleagues are, and the Conservatives are not a serious party when all they're trying to do is get clips. I don't appreciate it. I had no intentions of supporting the Liberals' amendment, and I don't appreciate the taunting, the tempting, the bullying. I don't appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Zarrillo. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To my colleague, there was no taunting or bullying. And if you don't support that, that's wonderful. But this, again, back to facts, to my NDP colleague through you, Mr. Chair, this has been an agreement that they put in place. This is not some kind of political jargon. There is a supply agreement in place that is propping up the Liberal government. That is just the facts of what is happening. And we are Conservatives, we are in the opposition, and yes, this is a serious topic. And so no, this isn't bullying, this is the facts of what you signed on to as NDP with the Liberals to give them power. So either you care about homeless people or you don't. That is where we're at right now, and I appreciate it if you do support this motion, and I will work with you fully to do that, to help people who are most vulnerable. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Zarrillo. You have your hand up again on the amendment?
I do, Mr. Speaker, and I don't really think that the political conversation is helping people in Canada, and I don't think it's helping residents, and it's certainly not helping the seniors that I saw this weekend, 5 of whom have passed away recently. Their housing was precarious. Their access to medication is precarious. Their health in general is failing due to cuts that the Conservatives brought generationally to healthcare. So I don't really want to get into a conversation like this in committee. This is important work that we need to do. But I think that the Conservatives need to stop being unserious and start being a serious party who takes language and the task of their parliamentary duties seriously, instead of talking about taglines and accusations that they know aren't true. And I am going to say as an NDPer that I'm proud of the work that we are doing to rebuild the safety net that the Conservatives pulled apart over decades in relations to housing, in relations to health, in relations to supporting seniors. I mean, we could have this conversation all day, and I don't want to. I want us to get to the business. So I will reiterate again, I won't be supporting the Liberals' motion, and I'd like us to get to the Ms. Gray's motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Zarrillo. And I would remind, building on Madame Zarrillo's comment, to keep your comments to the amendment that's before the floor. Madame Chabot? No? Seeing no further discussion then, Madam Clerk, I will call a recorded vote on the amendment of Mr. Fragus-Cattles. D'accord?
Mr. Fergus-Kettles?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Collins? Mr. Coteau? Mr. Van Bynen?
Yes.
Mrs. Gray? No. Miss Roberts?
No.
Miss Ferrari?
No.
Mr. Aitchison?
No.
Madame Chabot?
Oui.
Ms. Zarillo?
No.
Yeas pour 6, nays contre 5, 5.
The amendment is carried. Now we'll vote on the main motion as amended. Recorded vote on the motion of Ms. Gray as now amended. Call the vote.
Mr. Fragus-Cattles?
Yes.
Sorry, no, stop, no. I missed, no, she had her hand up before I got to it. In fairness to Ms. Gray, I was blocked by the computer screen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we're kind of not in the sight line here. So basically, this motion right now isn't calling on the committee to take any particular action. So I mean, that's what the Liberals have created here. Now with the amendment, they've taken out, they've stricken taking any particular action from this. It's basically just it's basically just a statement. So I'm not sure what the purpose is that the Liberals wanted to do here. If housing is important, there should be. It's unbelievable, but that they took out us discussing this in the House of Commons. So it's a real shame.
Thank you. Seeing no further Madame Zarillo, on the main motion as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Chair, I just wanted to encourage the Conservatives to ask for an emergency debate in the House. That's what the NDP did, and it was denied. I am concerned that this government is not taking it serious, and I would encourage them to use those tools in the House of Commons to spark a debate. And I'm really disappointed that the NDP, when we did that, asked for an emergency debate on this homelessness. It was denied to us in the House of Commons. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Zarillo. Seeing no further debate, I'll call a recorded vote on the motion of Ms. Gray as amended. Recorded vote.
Mr. Fragus-Cattles?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Collins? Mr. Coteau?
Yes.
Mr. Van Bynen?
Yes.
Mrs. Gray? Yes. Miss Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mr. Aitchison?
Yes, for another talking point. Yep.
Madame Chabot?
Oui.
Ms. Zarillo?
Yes.
Yeas pour 11, nays contre 0, aucun.
The motion, order committee members, the motion is carried as amended.